Close your eyes for a moment. Think back to the first time you held a controller in your hands, the first time a screen glowed to life before you, inviting you into a world that wasn't quite real, yet felt more vivid than reality itself. Perhaps you were sitting cross-legged on a carpeted floor, the television casting its gentle light across your face. Perhaps it was late at night, the house quiet around you, and you were the only one awake, traveling through digital realms while the rest of the world slept. For many of us, those first worlds were Nintendo worlds, the Mushroom Kingdom with its floating blocks and singing hills, the vast fields of Hyrule stretching beneath impossibly blue skies, the pink, cotton candy landscapes of Dreamland where a small, round hero floated on gentle breezes. These places became as familiar to us as our own neighborhoods, their music as recognizable as lullabies, their secrets tucked into our memories like childhood treasures. But have you ever wondered why these worlds feel so connected, even when they tell different stories, even when they exist in seemingly separate universes? Why does the star you collect in one game echo the star you chase in another? Why do portals and passages between realms appear across franchises, each one promising transformation, each one a doorway to somewhere new? Why does music from one Nintendo game carry the same emotional weight as music from another, even though they were composed for entirely different adventures? Tonight, we're going to explore something that exists just beneath the surface of Nintendo's vast library of games. It's not a conspiracy theory or a forced connection. It's something more subtle, more beautiful. It's the dream logic that binds these worlds together, the invisible threads that connect Mario's stars to Kirby's Dreamland, Link's sacred realm to Rosalina's cosmic observatory, the transforming masks of Termina to the very philosophy of play that Shigeru Miyamoto and Satoru Iwata built their careers upon. This is not about proving that all Nintendo games take place in the same universe. That would be a different kind of story, one concerned with timelines and canon. Instead, this is about understanding the deeper truth, that Nintendo has been weaving the same dream for decades, exploring the same themes from different angles, building worlds that speak to each other through symbolism, music, and design philosophy. It's about recognizing that when you play a Nintendo game, you're participating in something larger than any single title. You're entering a space where certain truths hold constant, where stars mean hope, where sleep and dreams hold transformative power, where children can save kingdoms, and where the act of wishing itself has weight and consequence. The story begins, as so many Nintendo stories do, with something small and simple. A star, a door, a note of music hanging in digital air. Let's follow these threads together, gently, the way you might trace constellations in a night sky, finding patterns that have always been there, waiting for someone to look closely enough to see them. If there's one symbol that appears more frequently across Nintendo's worlds than any other, it's the star. Not just any star, but a particular kind, five-pointed, often golden, sometimes with eyes and a face, sometimes simply glowing with inner light. These stars are Nintendo's most consistent visual language, appearing across franchises in ways that feel too deliberate to be coincidence. In Super Mario 64, Power Stars became the fundamental currency of progression. Each one you collected opened new areas of Princess Peach's castle. Each one represented mastery of a challenge, a world explored and understood. They weren't just collectibles. They were fragments of cosmic power scattered across paintings that served as portals to other realms. When Mario plunged his hand into those paintings, when he felt the pull of another world, the goal was always the same: find the star, claim its power, return transformed. The Power Stars would return in Super Mario Galaxy, but their meaning deepened. Here, we learned that stars weren't just objects to collect. They were living things, or had been. They were the Lumas, Rosalina's adopted children, who gave themselves willingly to become power stars, to become entire galaxies, to fuel the cycle of cosmic creation and destruction. In Rosalina's storybook, read in hushed tones in the Comet Observatory's library, we learned about transformation and sacrifice, about how small beings of starlight could become something greater, how they traveled through space, knowing one day they would change form entirely. This recontextualizes every power star in Mario's adventures. Each one represents not just power, but the willing sacrifice of a Luma who chose to transform. Each galaxy Mario visits exists because Lumas chose to become it. The entire cosmos of Super Mario Galaxy is built from transformed star children, and when the universe collapses into a black hole at the game's climax, when it seems all is lost, what saves everything? The Lumas throw themselves into the void, transforming one final time, remaking reality itself through an act of cosmic love. But Mario wasn't the first Nintendo hero to chase stars. In Paper Mario, the star spirits resided in Star Haven, ancient cosmic beings whose role was to grant the wishes of those who saw shooting stars. 7 spirits: Eldstar, Mamar, Skolar, Muscular, Mistar, Cleavar, and Kalmar. When Bowser stole the Star Rod and imprisoned these spirits, transforming them into cards, he didn't just steal power. He stole the universe's ability to manifest hope, to transform wishes into reality. The entire plot of Paper Mario revolves around rescuing these spirits, restoring their power, giving the cosmos back its voice. The star spirits grant Mario power throughout his journey, one by one, as he frees them. Each spirit offers a blessing, a spell that draws on stellar energy. And in the final battle, when Bowser uses the Star Rod to become invincible, when it seems no power can touch him, what defeats him? The combined strength of all 7 star spirits channeling through Mario, creating the Star Beam, upgraded to Peach Beam when Princess Peach's own wishes join the chorus. Wishes defeating wishes. Cosmic power versus corrupted cosmic power. In Star Haven, we glimpse something of the structure of Nintendo's cosmos. Stars aren't just decorations or collectibles. They're conscious entities with agency and purpose. They watch over mortals, respond to sincere desires, and intervene when the balance between light and darkness threatens to tip too far toward shadow. They exist in a realm above and beyond the mortal world, yet remain connected to it, accessible through specific rituals, specific moments when the barrier between worlds grows thin. This same pattern appears in Kirby's universe. In Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, the story revolves around collecting crystal shards to reform a powerful crystal. But where did this crystal come from? The story suggests it fell from the stars, that it's a fragment of cosmic power similar to the power stars of Mario's world. Throughout the Kirby series, stars appear as power-ups, as transformation tools, as the very substance that fuels Kirby's warp star, the sentient vehicle that carries him between worlds. The warp star deserves its own moment of consideration. It's a living constellation, a star that chose to bond with Kirby, to carry him wherever he needs to go. It responds to his will, but has personality of its own. It's damaged in battles, recovers, returns when called. The warp star is Kirby's most constant companion, appearing across nearly every game in the franchise, and it represents the same truth we see in Mario's Lumas. Stars in Nintendo's universe have consciousness, purpose, the ability to form bonds with heroes. Even the name Kirby connects to stars. In Japan, the Kirby series is titled Hoshi no Kirby, which translates to Kirby of the Stars. He's explicitly a star warrior, someone connected to cosmic forces, defending Dreamland and Popstar, the planet itself is named after stars, from threats that often come from space, from the void, from dark cosmic entities that mirror the light of stars with their own terrible illumination. The star theme reaches its most profound expression in Rosalina's story. When she was a young girl, she met a Luma searching for its mother. Together, they built a spaceship and ventured into space, seeking Luma's parent among the stars. They never found her. Instead, Rosalina became a mother to countless Lumas, building the Comet Observatory, a structure that travels through space, visiting her home planet once every 100 years. The observatory itself is powered by grand stars and power stars, larger versions of the same cosmic entities. Without sufficient star power, the observatory cannot move, cannot fulfill its purpose of watching over the cosmos. Rosalina's role as Mother of the Lumas creates a bridge between Mario's world and the cosmic forces that govern it. She exists outside normal time, aging slowly if at all, her lifespan measured in centuries rather than decades. She witnesses the birth and death of galaxies, the transformation of Lumas into new forms, the endless cycle of creation. When she explains this cycle to Mario after the universe nearly ends, she speaks with the calm certainty of someone who has seen this story play out before, who knows that endings are always beginnings, that what appears to be death is simply another transformation. This brings us to the philosophy underlying all these star-collecting games. Stars represent achievement, yes, but also potential, transformation, and connection to something greater than oneself. When you collect stars in a Nintendo game, you're not just checking boxes or filling progress bars. You're gathering fragments of cosmic significance, pieces of a greater whole that existed before being scattered. The act of collection is actually an act of restoration, of healing a wounded cosmos, of making the universe complete again. This is why star collecting feels so satisfying in Nintendo games. It's not arbitrary. Every star you find carries weight, represents something found that was lost, something potential made real. The games teach you to look at the world differently, to search high and low, to question the nature of reality itself. That suspicious-looking wall might hide a secret. That seemingly unreachable platform might require finding a hidden path. Stars train you to be observant, curious, persistent. They reward exploration and creative problem-solving. And crucially, stars connect these worlds. When Mario collects a power star, when Link finds a star fragment in Breath of the Wild, fallen pieces of stars that grant special crafting materials. When Kirby powers up his warp star, when Fox McCloud's Arwing flies past distant suns, when the Star Fox team travels through the Lilat system, when even non-star games include star motifs in their design and iconography, all of these moments are speaking the same visual language, telling players, you are part of something larger, something cosmic, something that exists beyond the boundaries of this particular game. The genius of using stars as this universal symbol is that stars mean something to us already, before we ever pick up a controller. We've all looked up at night skies and felt small, felt wonder, felt the pull of something vast and mysterious. We've all made wishes on stars, whether we believed those wishes would be granted or not. The ritual itself matters. The reaching towards something beyond ourselves, the acknowledgement that we exist within a cosmos larger than our understanding. Nintendo takes this primal connection to stars and weaves it into their game design. They make stars interactive, collectible, meaningful within the logic of their worlds. But they never let stars become mundane. Even after collecting hundreds of power stars across multiple Mario games, the moment when you finally reach one, when the triumphant music plays, when the star spins and shimmers before you, that moment never loses its magic. It remains a small celebration, a recognition that something important has happened, that you've grown as a player and as a character. In this way, stars function as Nintendo's signature, their mark left across franchises. When you see that particular style of five-pointed star, you know you're in a Nintendo world, bound by Nintendo's rules, participating in Nintendo's dream. The star tells you, this is a place where hope matters, where small heroes can achieve great things, where the cosmos itself supports those who strive with pure hearts toward noble goals. Dreams and sleep occupy a curious space in Nintendo's library. They're not just narrative devices or aesthetic choices, they're fundamental forces, realms as real as any waking world, sometimes more so. Understanding Nintendo's treatment of dreams requires understanding that in these games, the boundary between sleeping and waking is permeable, negotiable, worth questioning. The most obvious starting point is Kirby's Dream Land. The very first Kirby game, released in 1992 for the Game Boy, established its setting immediately in the title. Dreamland, not Kirby's Land or Starland or any other configuration. Dreamland. The implication is clear. This is a world made of or connected to dreams, where the rules of waking reality don't fully apply, where a small pink sphere can inhale enemies twice his size, float indefinitely on puffs of air, and ride a sentient star through cotton candy skies. Dreamland would remain the consistent setting throughout the Kirby franchise. Kirby's Dream Land 2, Kirby's Dream Land 3, and countless other titles all return to this place, this world that exists in a permanent state of dream logic. The geography makes sense only if you accept that dream geometry is at work. Islands float in the sky because dreams allow it. Castles appear in impossible configurations. The entire planet, Popstar, seems designed according to principles that have more to do with pleasant childhood drawings than realistic planetary formation. What's fascinating is that Dreamland isn't described as a metaphor. Characters don't wake up at the end to discover it was all a dream. Dreamland is presented as a real place, as real as any location in any Nintendo game, but one whose physical laws are shaped by dream logic rather than waking physics. This suggests something important about Nintendo's cosmology. Dreams aren't less real than waking life. They're differently real, governed by different rules, but existing with equal validity. The antagonists in Kirby games often threaten Dreamland specifically by targeting dreams themselves. King Dedede, in the first game, steals the sparkling stars and all the food. But in later games, the threats become more abstract. Nightmare, from Kirby's Adventure, literally invades dreams. The Fountain of Dreams, which provides good dreams to the citizens of Dreamland, becomes corrupted. Kirby must enter the fountain, restore its purity, defeat Nightmare in his own realm. The final battle takes place in a starfield, floating in what appears to be space, suggesting that the dream realm and cosmic space overlap, that dreams take place among the stars. This connection between dreams and the cosmos appears repeatedly. In Kirby's Dream Land 3, dark matter threatens to cover Popstar in darkness. In Kirby 64, the crystal shards, dark matter returns, threatening multiple planets. The threat is always cosmic in scale, and the solution always involves restoring light, color, joy, the qualities of pleasant dreams, to places that have fallen into nightmare. But Kirby's Dream Land isn't Nintendo's only sleeping world. In Super Mario Bros. 2, Mario enters Subcon, a dream world, by falling asleep. The entire game takes place during a dream, though the game never treats this as diminishing the adventure's reality. The inhabitants of Subcon are real. The tyrannical wart who rules it is a genuine threat, and the hero's journey to defeat him has consequences that persist after waking. The manual for the game even describes how Mario returns to Subcon in subsequent dreams, suggesting that dreaming provides a reliable method of accessing this realm. What makes Subcon particularly interesting is how different it is from the Mushroom Kingdom. Instead of jumping on enemies, you pick them up and throw them. Instead of fire flowers and mushrooms, you pluck vegetables from the ground. Instead of Bowser, you face Wart, a frog who hates vegetables. These differences signal that you're operating under different rules, the rules of a dream world rather than a waking one. Yet the core gameplay remains recognizable as Mario, suggesting that even across the boundary between sleeping and waking, certain truths remain constant. The Legend of Zelda offers its own meditation on dreams. In Link's Awakening, Link washes ashore on Koholint Island after a shipwreck. He explores the island, meets its inhabitants, works to awaken the Wind Fish, a deity sleeping inside a giant egg at the island's peak. The story gradually reveals a devastating truth. Koholint Island exists within the Windfish's dream. Every person Link meets, every location he explores, exists only because the Windfish dreams it. When the Windfish awakens, the island will vanish, and everyone on it will cease to exist. This creates a profound moral dilemma. Link needs to awaken the Windfish to escape the island, but doing so means destroying an entire world and everyone in it. The game doesn't shy away from this tragedy. As Link progresses, NPCs occasionally seem aware of their nature as dream entities, dropping hints that they suspect their world isn't real, that they might disappear. The final sequence, after the Windfish awakens, shows the island fading away as Link drifts on wreckage in the open sea, watching Koholint dissolve into mist. Yet the game's ending poses a question. If the island and its inhabitants existed within a dream, were they any less real? They had personalities, hopes, fears. They experienced joy and suffering. They formed relationships. From their perspective, their existence was as valid as anyone's. Link's Awakening suggests that consciousness might be all that's required for reality, that a dream vivid enough, inhabited by beings aware enough, becomes its own kind of truth. This theme of dreams creating or sustaining worlds appears in other Zelda games as well. The Dream Shrine in A Link to the Past requires Link to sleep to access it. Inside, he faces challenges that test his combat ability in what's explicitly described as a dream space. In Breath of the Wild, Link awakens from a 100-year sleep that was itself a kind of stasis, a pause in time that preserved him for the future. His awakening marks the beginning of the game, suggesting that the entire adventure exists in the space between sleeping and waking, between what was lost and what might be recovered. Even Animal Crossing, Nintendo's most grounded franchise in terms of realistic daily activities, treats sleep as significant. Your character goes to sleep each night, and the game world continues without you. Other villagers mention what happened while you were asleep. Events occur on a schedule that respects day and night cycles. The game trains you to think about the hours you're not playing as real time, during which the world persists, as if your visits to your village are moments of waking in a place that dreams itself into being, whether you're present or not. This brings us to a fascinating design philosophy that appears across Nintendo's games. The idea that game worlds exist independently, that they continue when you're not playing, that they have lives of their own. This is dream logic. Dreams continue in some sense even when we're not actively dreaming them. The people and places of our dreams exist in potential, waiting to be actualized when we sleep again. Nintendo treats their game worlds similarly. They're places you visit, but they don't cease to exist when you turn off the console. They wait for you, sleeping themselves perhaps, ready to wake when you return. The music of Nintendo's sleeping worlds reinforces this quality. Kirby's Dream Land has that memorable theme, Welcome to Dreamland, which is gentle, welcoming, slightly sleepy in its tempo. It doesn't rush. It invites you to relax, to enter this space at your own pace. The Green Greens theme, one of the most iconic pieces in the Kirby franchise, has a bouncing quality that suggests floating or hopping through a pleasant dream. There's no sense of urgency or danger in the music, only gentle exploration. Similarly, the music of Link's Awakening has a quality unlike other Zelda games. It's more whimsical, more varied in style, as if the game is sampling from different types of music the way dreams sample from different memories. The village theme is cheerful but tinged with melancholy, as if the music itself knows this world is temporary, that everything here exists on borrowed time. Even the visual design of these games signals their dream nature. Kirby's world is built from soft, rounded shapes, pastel colors, environments that look hand-drawn rather than realistically rendered. Link's Awakening, especially in its recent remake, has a toy-like quality, with character models that look like figurines, environments that resemble dioramas. The game's graphics remind you constantly that this world operates under different rules, that you're inside something other than mundane reality. Nintendo's sleeping worlds teach us something about the company's design philosophy. They're not afraid of ambiguity, of spaces that exist between categories. Dream worlds let them explore gameplay ideas that wouldn't make sense in more grounded settings. They create permission for strangeness, for the unexpected, for mechanics that prioritize feeling over realism. But more than that, these dream worlds speak to something deeper about play itself. When we play games, we're entering a kind of dream state. We're focused on a screen, controlling a character that isn't us, invested in events that aren't really happening. Yet our emotional responses are real. The joy of victory, the frustration of defeat, the satisfaction of solving a puzzle. These experiences are genuine, even though their trigger is fictional. Games exist in the same space. Dreams occupy. Not quite real, not quite unreal, but potent enough to affect us deeply. By explicitly framing some of their worlds as dreams, Nintendo acknowledges this quality. They're inviting us to recognize that all game worlds share something with dream worlds, that the act of playing is itself a kind of dreaming while awake. And like dreams, these worlds can contain truth. They can teach us things about ourselves, show us possibilities we hadn't considered, let us experience perspectives different from our daily lives. The recurring presence of sleep and dreams across Nintendo's franchises isn't accidental. It's recognition that play itself is dreamwork, that the worlds we visit through our screens are as valid and meaningful as the dreams that visit us in sleep. Both require a willing suspension of disbelief. Both reward us with experiences impossible in waking life. And both, if we pay attention, can show us truths that reality sometimes obscures. The doorway shimmers before you. It might be a painting in a castle, its surface rippling like water, inviting you to dive in. It might be a swirling vortex of light, a tear in the fabric of space itself. It might be an ordinary door at first glance, but when you open it, the space beyond doesn't match the space. That should be there. It's larger than possible, or it leads somewhere that couldn't exist beyond that particular threshold. This is portal logic, and Nintendo has mastered it across every franchise, using passages between worlds as both gameplay mechanic and philosophical statement. In the Mushroom Kingdom, paintings serve as portals. Princess Peach's castle in Super Mario 64 contains paintings that are simultaneously art and doorways, existing in that liminal space where representation becomes access. When Mario leaps into a painting of Bob Battlefield, he's not entering a metaphor. He's passing through a threshold into an actual place that exists, that has terrain and inhabitants and challenges. The painting is both map and door, showing you where you're going and providing the means to get there. This use of art as portal has interesting implications. It suggests that imagination creates reality, that the act of depicting a place brings it into being, or at least makes it accessible. The paintings in Peach's castle aren't just decorations, they're functional infrastructure, cosmic plumbing that connects the castle to distant realms. Someone painted these pictures, and in painting them, created passages. Art becomes literal magic in this context, the magic of making places exist that didn't before, or of making existing places reachable across impossible distances. The paintings also establish hierarchy and progression. Some are visible immediately, others unlock only after you've collected sufficient power stars. The castle itself is a puzzle box, a labyrinth where doors open based on your achievements, where the building's interior space expands as you prove yourself worthy of accessing its deeper chambers. This castle as progression system appears across multiple Mario games, teaching players that space itself rewards exploration and persistence, that the world grows to accommodate those who earn the right to see more of it. Pipes offer a more industrial version of the same principle. The green pipes of the Mushroom Kingdom serve as fast travel, as access points to hidden areas, as connections between surface and subterranean worlds. They're ubiquitous, appearing in nearly every Mario game, and they follow consistent rules. Enter from the top, you drop down into another space. Enter from the side, you travel horizontally through some kind of pipe network that exists outside normal space, emerging elsewhere. The pipes suggest that the Mushroom Kingdom has infrastructure, that these passages were built deliberately, that they serve a purpose in the daily life of this world. Who maintains this pipe network? How long has it existed? The games don't answer these questions, but they imply a history, a civilization that understood travel between locations and between layers of reality, and built systems to facilitate it. In The Legend of Zelda, portals take more mystical forms. The Sacred Realm, a parallel dimension that mirrors Hyrule, only be accessed through specific rituals. In Ocarina of Time, Link must gather the 3 spiritual stones, obtain the Ocarina of Time from Princess Zelda, learn the Song of Time, and play it in the Temple of Time before the Door of Time. Only then can he access the Master Sword, which serves as both weapon and key to the Sacred Realm. This elaborate sequence establishes that some passages require worthiness, preparation, specific knowledge. You can't stumble into the Sacred Realm by accident. You must prove yourself ready through a series of trials. You must gather specific artifacts, learn specific songs, perform specific actions in a specific place. Only then does the passage open. What's significant is that the Sacred Realm isn't separate from Hyrule. It's described as a mirror, a reflection, a parallel space that exists alongside the world we see. Rauru, the Sage of Light, explains that the Sacred Realm reflects the heart of whoever enters it. If someone with a pure heart enters, the realm becomes a paradise. If someone with an evil heart enters, the realm transforms into a wasteland of corruption. Ganondorf's entry into the Sacred Realm transforms it into the Dark World, demonstrating that these parallel spaces are malleable, responsive, alive in some sense. This gives us important information about Nintendo's understanding of parallel worlds. They're not just alternate locations. They're reactive, shaped by intention and character, reflective of inner states made external. The passage between worlds isn't just spatial, it's psychological, moral, spiritual. Moving between realms in Zelda games often represents transformation in the hero, changes in perspective, growth in understanding. The Moon Gates in Four Swords. Adventures provide another kind of passage, temporary portals that appear and disappear, letting Link shift between the light world and dark world repeatedly throughout his adventure. He must learn to navigate both simultaneously, understanding that solutions to problems often require moving between realms, using the properties of one to affect the other. This teaches players to think multidimensionally, to recognize that reality has layers, that sometimes you need to step outside your current context to see it clearly. Even Animal Crossing, grounded as it is in daily life simulation, includes portals. Dodo Airlines lets you visit friends' islands, stepping through a loading screen that functions as a passage between parallel worlds where different players have built different communities. Each island is its own reality, shaped by its players' choices, and the airplane serves as a believable in-world explanation for this dimensional travel. You're not just switching game instances, you're traveling, genuinely moving from one place to another. Samus Aran, in the Metroid series, encounters portals constantly. Chozo technology includes teleportation stations scattered across alien planets, allowing rapid travel once you've activated them. These portals are usually depicted as circular platforms bathed in light, another version of the threshold imagery that appears across Nintendo's games. Step onto the platform, feel the pull of something vast, emerge elsewhere. The technology may be alien, but the principle is the same. Passages between distant points, shortcuts through space that normal travel couldn't achieve. Star Fox introduces us to wormholes and hyperspace routes, cosmic highways that let spaceships cover interstellar distances in reasonable time frames. These aren't truly portals in the same sense as Mario's paintings or Link's sacred realm, but they serve similar functions. They compress space, make the unreachable reachable, acknowledge that in a universe as vast as the Lylat system, normal travel would be impractical. The very presence of these cosmic passages suggests that the structure of Nintendo's universe includes shortcuts, that reality cooperates with those who need to travel far and fast. What connects all these different portals is a consistent logic about how worlds relate to each other. Nintendo's universes are rarely isolated. They're networked, connected by passages both obvious and hidden. The act of discovery often involves finding these passages, mapping them, learning to use them efficiently. Games reward exploration by revealing new passages, teaching you that the world is larger and more interconnected than you initially realized. This design philosophy reflects something profound about Nintendo's approach to game design. They want worlds to feel expansive, mysterious, full of secrets waiting to be discovered. Portals serve this purpose perfectly. Every time you find a new passage, the world grows. What seemed like boundary reveals itself as threshold. What appeared to be limit transforms into invitation. The visual language of portals remains consistent enough that players recognize them across franchises. A shimmering effect, a particular kind of light, a frame or threshold that looks slightly different from normal architecture. These signals tell you, something beyond exists here. Passage is possible. Nintendo has trained generations of players to look for these signs, to investigate anything that might be more than it appears, to question the solidity of boundaries. Portals also create a sense of vertigo, a pleasant disorientation that comes from realizing space operates differently than expected. When you enter a small door and find an enormous space beyond, when you fall down a pipe and emerge somewhere completely different, when you step through a painting and discover an entire world, you're experiencing the malleability of reality itself. This is part of Nintendo's magic, making you question what's possible, showing you that the world is stranger and more wonderful than consensus reality suggests. The music that plays during portal transitions often reinforces this quality. There's usually a distinctive sound effect, a whoosh or chime, that marks the moment of passage. Sometimes there's brief transitional music, a few notes that occupy the space between locations. These audio cues train your ear to recognize when you're crossing thresholds, when you're moving between layers of reality. They make the act of transition itself meaningful, a moment worth marking with sound. In the end, Nintendo's portals teach us about possibilities. They teach that boundaries are often permeable, that walls might be doors if you know where to push, that the world contains hidden dimensions accessible to those willing to explore. They reward curiosity, persistence, the willingness to try the unlikely. They suggest that reality is more generous than it first appears, that passages exist even when they're not immediately visible, that the universe wants to be explored and has built infrastructure to facilitate that exploration. There's a phrase in Japanese, nakama. It's often translated as friend or companion, but it means something deeper. Nakama refers to people who share a bond forged through shared experience, who have been through something together that changed them, who understand each other at a level that doesn't require words. Nintendo's music creates nakama. When you hear those opening notes, da 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 da, you don't need to see the screen to know you're hearing the Super Mario Bros. Theme. You're instantly connected to everyone else who knows that melody, who has hummed it, who felt their heart lift the first time they heard it. Koji Kondo, Nintendo's legendary composer, understood something crucial about music in games. It's not background, it's architecture. The music shapes how you experience space and time within the game world. When Kondo composed the Overworld theme for Super Mario Bros., he was working with severe hardware limitations. The NES could only play a few sound channels simultaneously. Yet within these constraints, he created a melody that's been recognized by over 90% of gamers in recent surveys, that has been covered by orchestras, jazz ensembles, rock bands, and bedroom musicians, that has transcended the game itself to become part of popular culture. What makes that melody work? It's in constant motion, like Mario himself. The rhythm bounces, encouraging you to move, to jump, to explore. The melody is optimistic without being saccharine, playful without being childish. It matches the visual design of the Mushroom Kingdom, colorful, energetic, full of possibility. When you hear it, you want to run, jump, discover what's around the next corner. This is music as instruction, as environmental storytelling, as mood setting all at once. Kondo has spoken about wanting players to feel like they're dancing when they play. In the underwater levels of Super Mario Bros., the music shifts to a waltz. The animations sync with the beat, coins shimmer, fish flap their fins, all timed to the music's pulse. This synchronization creates a feeling of harmony, of everything moving together in rhythm. Even the player's actions feel like part of the music when they press buttons in time with the beat. The game invites you to collaborate with it musically. But Kondo didn't just compose memorable melodies. He established motifs that would recur across decades. The coarse, clear jingle that plays when Mario completes a level has appeared in nearly every Mario game since 1985. It's 4 seconds long, but those 4 seconds carry enormous weight. They signal achievement, progress, success. Hearing that jingle creates a Pavlovian response in players who grew up with these games. It means you did it. You overcame the challenge. You're moving forward. This use of recurring musical motifs creates continuity across games. The main Mario theme appears in some form in almost every Mario game, sometimes as background music, sometimes as a triumphant fanfare, sometimes woven into entirely different compositions. These musical callbacks tell players, you're in a Mario game. The rules you know apply here. This is familiar territory, even if the specific game is new. The Legend of Zelda employs similar strategies. The Zelda's Lullaby, Zelda main theme, and Epona's Song appear across multiple games, sometimes unchanged, sometimes arranged differently but recognizable. These melodies become associated with specific characters, specific emotions, specific types of moments. When you hear Zelda's lullaby, you know something important is about to happen, usually involving Princess Zelda, usually involving destiny or legacy. The music prepares you emotionally before the narrative makes anything explicit. In Ocarina of Time, music becomes a gameplay mechanic. Link learns songs on his ocarina that have magical effects, opening doors, warping between locations, calling his horse, controlling weather. The act of playing music becomes the act of shaping reality. You must learn the correct notes, play them in the correct order, and the world responds. This transforms music from atmosphere into agency, from background into foreground, from decoration into tool. What's remarkable is how memorable these ocarina songs are. The Song of Time, Saria's Song, Song of Storms. Players who haven't touched Ocarina of Time in decades can still recall these melodies. They're simple enough to remember, but distinctive enough to feel meaningful. They become part of your mental soundtrack, tunes you might find yourself humming while doing entirely unrelated activities. This is music that lodges in memory, that becomes part of you. Kirby's music takes a different approach. Instead of heroic fanfares or mystical melodies, Kirby's soundtracks lean toward cheerful, bouncy themes that emphasize fun over danger. Green Greens, the main theme of Kirby's Dreamland, has a playful quality that perfectly matches the game's aesthetic. It's not trying to pump you up for battle, it's inviting you to enjoy yourself, to relax, to explore at your own pace. Yet even Kirby's music can surprise you with depth. The Gourmet Race theme, one of the most beloved tracks in the franchise, has been covered countless times, arranged for full orchestras, remixed into electronic dance music. It's simultaneously silly and skillfully composed, accessible to children while still interesting to adult musicians. This balance exemplifies Nintendo's musical philosophy: create music that works on multiple levels, that children can enjoy immediately, but that reveals more complexity the closer you listen. Rosalina's Observatory theme from Super Mario Galaxy deserves special mention. It's a waltz, gentle and melancholic, with strings that suggest both cosmic vastness and intimate loneliness. When you first hear it, it feels almost out of place in a Mario game. It's too sad, too contemplative. But as you spend time in the observatory, as you read Rosalina's storybook, as you understand her centuries of isolation and loss, the music reveals itself as perfectly matched to the character and location. This is music that tells a story, that carries emotional weight unusual for the franchise. The Galaxy soundtrack as a whole marked a shift for Mario games. Where previous titles relied on synthesized music, Galaxy employed a full orchestra. The results are breathtaking. Gusty Garden Galaxy, Battle Rock Galaxy, Bui Bass Galaxy. These tracks have an epic quality previously reserved for fantasy RPGs and adventure games. They elevate Mario's adventure into something mythic, suggesting that this story of a plumber jumping through space might actually be about something profound. Loss and recovery, destruction and renewal, the cycle of existence itself. This orchestral approach appeared in other Nintendo franchises as well. The Zelda Symphony concerts tour the world, performing full orchestral arrangements of music from across the franchise. Pokémon Symphonic Evolutions did the same. Nintendo's music has become valuable enough, culturally significant enough, that people pay to hear it performed live in concert halls, divorced from the games that spawned it. The music stands on its own as music, as legitimate composition deserving of serious performance. What makes Nintendo's music so enduring? Part of it is the constraint breeds creativity principle. Early composers had to work within severe limitations, which forced them to focus on melody, on creating hooks that would stick in players' minds despite simple instrumentation. Those melodies, refined by necessity, became iconic. But there's more to it. Nintendo's composers understand something about emotional resonance. They know how to match music to moment, how to use tempo and tone to influence player mood, how to create themes that become associated with characters or locations so strongly that hearing the music evokes the entire experience of playing that game. When you hear the intro to Dire Dire Docks from Mario 64, you're not just hearing music, you're remembering the level, the feeling of swimming through dark water, the specific challenges you faced there. The music becomes a mnemonic device, a key that unlocks entire worlds of memory. Nintendo also understands the power of variation. Take the Clocktown theme from Majora's Mask. It has 3 versions, one for each day of the game's 3-day cycle. Day 1 is cheerful, upbeat, suggesting a town going about its normal business. Day 2 becomes more urgent, faster, with tension creeping into the melody. Day 3 is frantic, almost panicked, the music itself reflecting the town's growing awareness that disaster approaches. The same melody, transformed by context, telling 3 different emotional stories. This adaptive approach to music appears across Nintendo's games. In The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, music is sparse during exploration, just piano notes and gentle ambiance, allowing the sounds of nature to dominate. But approach a stable, and full music swells. Enter combat, and the music intensifies. Climb a tower, and triumphant brass celebrates your achievement. The game's soundtrack responds to player action, rewarding progress with appropriate musical emphasis while never overwhelming the quiet moments. The music also creates continuity across decades. When a new Zelda game includes an arrangement of the main theme, it's not just nostalgia. It's declaring, this is a Zelda game, part of a lineage, connected to every Zelda game that came before. The music says, you belong to this tradition. You're continuing a story that began decades ago. You're part of something larger than this individual game. Similarly, when Smash Bros. Brings together music from across Nintendo's franchises, remixed and rearranged, it creates a celebration of Nintendo's entire musical legacy. You can set Splatoon music to play on a Mario stage, hear Metroid music during a Zelda match. The game acknowledges that all these melodies exist in the same musical universe, that they speak to each other, that they're connected by shared artistic vision, even when they come from different composers working on different games decades apart. Nintendo's music creates nakama. When you meet someone who loves these games, you have a shared musical vocabulary. You can reference melodies and they'll understand. You can hum a few bars and watch their face light up with recognition. The music becomes a bond, a way of saying, we've been to these worlds, we understand what they mean, we're connected by these experiences. This is why Nintendo's music shows up everywhere, in cover bands, on streaming playlists, in remix albums, at orchestral concerts, as ringtones, as lo-fi study music, as exercise motivation, as comfort. Listening when the world feels overwhelming. These melodies have transcended their origins to become part of our collective cultural memory, a shared language of joy, adventure, and possibility. The hero is 12 years old when he pulls the Master Sword from its pedestal. Too young. The sword recognizes this, sees that his body and spirit haven't matured enough to bear the weight of destiny. So the sacred realm does what it must. It seals the child away for 7 years, aging his body while his mind sleeps, transforming him into the hero of time he must become to save Hyrule. This moment in Ocarina of Time is crucial to understanding Nintendo's philosophy about heroism. The person who saves the world is a child, not an adult pretending to be a child through flashback or memory. An actual child, experiencing real danger, making choices with real consequences, succeeding or failing based on courage and determination rather than experience or cynicism. Nintendo returns to this archetype again and again. Mario is designed to resemble a child despite officially being an adult. His proportions, large head, small body, evoke childlike characteristics. He approaches challenges with the enthusiasm and optimism of youth. He doesn't overthink. He sees an obstacle and jumps. He encounters an enemy and bops it. He discovers a new power-up and immediately experiments with what it can do. This is play. This is how children interact with the world. Kirby is even more explicitly childlike. Round, pink, easily excitable, solving problems by eating them. Kirby waddles through dreamland with innocent determination, never seeming to grasp how powerful he actually is. This innocence isn't a weakness, it's his strength. He approaches cosmic threats with the same cheerful persistence he'd bring to any other activity, never doubting that he can overcome whatever challenges appear. In Pokémon, the player character is explicitly 10 years old when they receive their first Pokémon and set out on their journey. 10. Old enough to handle responsibility, young enough that the world still feels vast and mysterious. The premise acknowledges something important. Children are capable of far more than adults often assume. Given trust, given responsibility, given room to grow, young people will rise to challenges, learn from failure, persist until they succeed. The recurring message across these games is that age doesn't determine worth or capability. The child heroes of Nintendo's games succeed not despite their youth, but because of it. They haven't learned to see obstacles as insurmountable. They haven't accumulated the cynicism that tells adults certain things are impossible. When a child encounters a seemingly impossible challenge, their first response isn't, "I can't do that." It's, "How do I do that?" This creates an interesting relationship with the player. Many Nintendo games are designed for children, but adults play them too and find them rewarding. Why? Because these games tap into something we risk losing as we age. The willingness to approach problems with fresh eyes, to believe that effort and cleverness can overcome any obstacle, to imagine ourselves as heroes regardless of our circumstances. The child hero also creates permission for learning. When Mario falls into a pit, it's not a tragedy, it's a lesson. You respawn and try again. When Link loses hearts to an enemy, you learn that enemy's patterns and develop a strategy. When Kirby fails to clear a stage, you figure out which copy ability might work better. Failure is expected, normalized, treated as part of the process rather than something shameful. This is crucial for Nintendo's design philosophy. They want players to experiment, to try different approaches, to learn through doing rather than through instruction. The child hero embodies this learning mindset. They're not supposed to know everything already. They're not expected to succeed on the first attempt. Growth is the story. The journey is the point. Link's transformation in Ocarina of Time makes this explicit. Young Link is nimble, small enough to crawl through spaces, light enough to use Deku flowers to launch himself upward. Adult Link is stronger, can use heavier weapons, can pull blocks further. Neither version is strictly better than the other. They have different capabilities suited to different challenges. The game requires you to shift between them, using the Ocarina of Time to move forward and backward through the same 7 years, solving puzzles that require both childhood agility and adult strength. This mechanic teaches players to value both states. Childhood has strengths that adulthood loses. The solution often requires combining the perspectives of both ages, recognizing that wisdom involves remembering what you knew as a child, the directness, the wonder, the willingness to believe in magic, while also applying what you've learned through experience. Ness, from Earthbound, offers another variation on the child hero. He's an ordinary kid from an ordinary town who discovers he has psychic abilities and must save the world from an alien invasion. The game explicitly frames this as a child's adventure. Ness's weapons are baseball bats and yo-yos. His party members are his neighbor girl, his friend from school, and a prince from a distant land who's also a child. They travel by bicycle and phone home to their parents. They stop for hamburgers. They battle enemies that include cranky old ladies, stray dogs, and animated pile of vomit. This mix of the mundane and the cosmic creates a distinctly childlike perspective. To Ness, getting your favorite meal and preparing to fight a cosmic horror carry similar weight because both are things he's experiencing for the first time. The game validates this perspective. It doesn't mock Ness for being young or inexperienced. It celebrates his youth as the source of his power. His psychic abilities, his courage, his kindness, these emerge from who he is, a good kid trying his best. The implications of these child heroes extend beyond the games themselves. Nintendo is telling children, you matter. Your perspective has value. You're capable of more than society might assume. The games create space for young players to imagine themselves as heroes, to develop confidence through virtual achievement, to practice problem-solving in low-stakes environments where failure doesn't have real-world consequences, but success generates genuine satisfaction. For adult players, these child heroes offer something different: reconnection with childhood perspectives, the reminder that the world once seemed full of mystery and possibility, that you once approached new experiences with excitement rather than wariness, that you once believed that trying hard enough could make almost anything possible. Playing these games as an adult becomes an act of recovery, reclaiming something you may have lost without noticing. The innocence of these heroes also creates a particular kind of emotional safety. When you play as Mario or Kirby, you're not worried about moral complexity. These are straightforward adventures. The heroes are good. The obstacles are challenges to overcome. The world operates on clear rules. This simplicity isn't shallow, it's restful. In a complicated world full of ambiguity and moral gray areas, these games offer clarity. They let you be a hero without question, let you save the day without doubt, let you experience unqualified success. Yet these games aren't without stakes. When Rosalina's storybook reveals her tragic past, when Majora's Mask explores themes of loss and mortality, when Pokemon games occasionally touch on abandonment and death, Nintendo acknowledges that children's emotional worlds include sadness, fear, and grief. The games don't condescend. They trust young players to handle complex emotions within safe, fictional contexts. This trust goes both ways. Nintendo trusts children to be capable, and in return, the games receive trust from players. When a Nintendo game introduces a new mechanic, players engage with it openly, curious about what it enables. When a Nintendo game presents a challenge, players assume it's fair and solvable. This trust has been earned over decades of games that respect players' intelligence, that provide appropriate difficulty curves, that telegraph dangers while still leaving room for discovery. The child heroes of Nintendo's worlds remind us that heroism doesn't require muscles or weapons or authority. It requires courage, kindness, persistence, and the willingness to keep trying, even when things seem impossible. These are qualities children can possess as fully as adults. These are qualities worth cultivating regardless of age. These are the virtues Nintendo chooses to celebrate, game after game, generation after generation. Above every Nintendo world, watching from heights mortals rarely glimpse, exist beings of immense power who shape reality through their attention and care. These aren't distant, uncaring gods. They're guardians, protectors, figures who intervene when the balance tips too far toward darkness, who empower heroes, who sometimes grieve at the costs of maintaining cosmic order. In Hyrule, the three golden goddesses, Din, Nehru, and Furore, created the world itself. Din cultivated the land with her powerful flames, creating the earth. Nehru poured her wisdom onto the earth, giving the spirit of law to the world. Furore produced life forms with her rich soul to inhabit the land. When their work was complete, they departed for the heavens, leaving behind the Triforce, a golden artifact that embodies their power, the Triforce of power, wisdom, and courage. But the goddesses didn't abandon their creation. Helia, a goddess left behind to watch over the Triforce, fought to protect it and the people of Hyrule from demise, a demon king who sought to claim divine power. This battle shapes the entire Zelda timeline. Helia's intervention, her sacrifice, her eventual reincarnation as a mortal, as Zelda, creates the conditions for Link's heroism. The goddess becomes human to walk among humans, to fight alongside them rather than simply watching from above. This pattern of divine involvement without direct control appears throughout Nintendo's games. Rosalina watches over the cosmos, but she doesn't prevent Bowser's attacks. She asks Mario to help, providing guidance and tools, but not solving problems for him. She's powerful enough to reset the universe after it's destroyed, yet she still needs a hero to recover the Power Stars. Why? Because Guardians in Nintendo's worlds understand something important. Direct intervention isn't always the answer. Sometimes beings must save themselves, grow through challenge, discover their own capacity for heroism. The Star Spirits of Paper. Mario operates similarly. They grant wishes, but they don't grant every wish. Bowser's selfish desires are denied. Only pure wishes, wishes that serve the greater good, receive their blessing. When Bowser imprisons them, they can't free themselves. They need Mario to rescue them, to prove himself worthy through trials. Once freed, they empower Mario with star-based magic, but they don't fight his battles for him. They're mentors, enablers, guides, not replacement heroes. In Kirby's universe, the pattern continues. Dreamland has protectors, but they don't prevent King Dedede's schemes or Dark Matter's invasions. Meta Knight serves as a guardian figure, sometimes helping Kirby, sometimes testing him, always with the goal of making him stronger. When the Fountain of Dreams becomes corrupted, when Pop Star faces existential threats, Guardians provide warnings, opportunities, tools, but the actual work of salvation falls to Kirby. Even in more grounded series like Animal Crossing, Guardian figures appear. Tom Nook, despite being depicted as purely mercenary by some players, functions as a guide who helps new residents establish themselves, who provides interest-free loans, who never evicts anyone for failing to pay debts. Isabelle watches over village operations, ensuring daily life continues smoothly. These aren't cosmic powers, but they're still protectors, beings who dedicate themselves to the well-being of others. What makes Nintendo's Guardians interesting is their restraint. They possess power to solve problems directly, yet choose not to. This restraint creates space for heroes to emerge, for ordinary beings to discover extraordinary capability within themselves. The Guardians seem to understand that growth requires challenge, that capability develops through struggle, that solving every problem for someone actually harms them by preventing development. This philosophy appears in Nintendo's game design itself. The games could be easier. They could provide more hints, more hand-holding, more automatic solutions. Instead, They respect players enough to present genuine challenges, trusting that players will persist, learn, grow more capable through the process. The games themselves act as guardians, creating safe spaces for players to develop skills while never doing the work for them. Arceus, in the Pokemon universe, is described as the creator of all things, the original one who shaped reality. Yet Arceus doesn't prevent Team Rocket's schemes or Team Galactic's plans to remake the world. Arceus exists, distant and rarely seen, its attention focused on maintaining the fundamental structure of existence while leaving details to those who inhabit the world. The legendary Pokemon, Ho-Oh, Lugia, the Weather Trio, the Lake Guardians, serve similar functions. They're immensely powerful, but they don't micromanage. They're guardians in the truest sense, watching over their domains, intervening only when absolutely necessary. The Lumas in Super Mario Galaxy embody a different kind of guardianship, the guardianship of willing sacrifice. They protect the cosmos by becoming part of it, transforming into planets, stars, galaxies. Their existence as Lumas is temporary, a childhood phase before metamorphosis. They give themselves to create and maintain worlds, and they do so joyfully, seeing transformation as purpose rather than loss. Rosalina, as their mother, guides this process, comforts them, prepares them for their eventual transformation, but doesn't prevent it. She understands that this is how the cosmos sustains itself, through cycles of transformation, through beings willing to give themselves to become something greater. This idea of guardianship through transformation rather than preservation appears in other Nintendo games as well. In Majora's Mask, the four giants serve as Termina's guardians, but they've been put to sleep by the Skull Kid. Link must awaken them, reminding them of their duty, calling them to awareness through ancient songs. Once awakened, the giants catch the falling moon, literally holding back Apocalypse through their combined strength. But they couldn't act on their own. They needed someone to wake them, to remind them of their purpose, to call them back to guardianship. This suggests that guardianship isn't automatic or permanent. It requires renewal, recommitment, sometimes intervention from outside to restore what's been lost. The giants are powerful, but they're not infallible. They can be deceived, put to sleep, need rescue themselves. This makes them more interesting than omnipotent deities. They're guardians who can fail, who need help, who must be actively maintained in their roles. Nintendo's guardians also demonstrate care through gift-giving. The goddesses leave the Triforce. The star spirits grant power to Mario. Rosalina gives Mario a Luma companion. Arceus creates legendary Pokemon to maintain balance. These gifts represent trust that the recipients will use what they're given wisely, that they'll grow into the responsibility that comes with power, that they'll become guardians themselves in time. This creates a succession, a cycle where heroes can become guardians. Link saves Hyrule, and in some timelines, his spirit becomes a guardian for future generations. Mario collects power stars and gains understanding of the cosmic cycles Rosalina has witnessed for centuries. Kirby protects Dreamland so consistently that he becomes a guardian himself, the one everyone turns to when new threats emerge. The games teach that guardianship is something to aspire to, that protecting others is noble work, that power should be used for care rather than control. Even villains in Nintendo games often believe they're acting as guardians. Ganondorf thinks he's protecting the Gerudo people by seeking the Triforce. King Dedede sometimes steals food or breaks things believing it will actually help Dreamland in the long run. The difference between guardian and tyrant lies not in power, but in approach. A guardian enables others' growth, while a tyrant demands submission. This distinction matters because Nintendo's games often feature player choice. You decide how to approach problems, which paths to explore, when to help others. The games reward kindness. They encourage you to protect those weaker than you, to use your abilities to improve the worlds you visit. By playing these games, you practice guardianship in small ways, learning to think about consequences beyond immediate gain, developing the mindset that protecting and enabling others is rewarding in itself. The Guardians of Nintendo's worlds whisper a message to players: you too can be this. You too can watch over something, can use whatever power you have to make things better, can choose to enable rather than control. The message isn't that you need divine power to be a guardian. It's that guardianship is a choice, an approach, a set of values you can embody regardless of your capabilities. Protection doesn't always mean fighting. Sometimes it means creating space for others to grow. Sometimes it means stepping back. Sometimes it means simply being present, being aware, being ready to help when help is needed, but not inserting yourself where you're not required. In the beginning, there was chaos, darkness without form, potential without actuality, the void, before creation. Then light emerged, not to eliminate darkness, but to define it, to create contrast, to give meaning to both states through their opposition. This is the fundamental cosmology underlying Nintendo's universes. Not light triumphing over darkness, but light and darkness in eternal balance, each necessary for the other to exist, each containing seeds of the other. The Triforce embodies this balance explicitly. It contains no intrinsic morality. Power, wisdom, and courage aren't good or evil in themselves. They're forces that can be used toward any end. When someone with an unbalanced heart touches the Triforce, it splits, granting each person the piece that matches their dominant quality. This splitting suggests that balance is the natural state, that when balance is disrupted, reality itself tries to restore equilibrium by distributing aspects across multiple vessels. Ganondorf receives the Triforce of power, but he's not evil because he has power. He's evil because he uses power without wisdom or courage, because his heart is unbalanced, consumed by ambition and resentment. Zelda receives wisdom, but in some games, wisdom without power leads to paralysis, to seeing dangers coming without being able to prevent them. Link receives courage, but courage without wisdom leads to recklessness, to charging into danger without preparation. The hero's journey in Zelda games often involves learning to balance these qualities. Link must learn wisdom from Zelda, must understand that courage includes knowing when not to fight. Zelda must learn power from Link, must understand that wisdom sometimes requires action. In some timelines, they fail this balance and calamity results. In others, they achieve balance and Hyrule enjoys peace. This theme of necessary balance appears across Nintendo's franchises. In Kirby games, darkness itself isn't evil. Void Termina, the final boss of Kirby Star Allies, is described as a being of unlimited power that can become either good or evil, depending on the energy it absorbs. It's not inherently corrupted. It's potential, capable of being shaped by influence. The true threat comes from those who try to corrupt Void Termina, who feed it dark emotions, who try to force it into evil rather than allowing it to achieve balance. Even King Dedede, Kirby's most frequent antagonist, isn't purely evil. He's greedy, selfish, arrogant, but he's also protective of Dreamland in his own way, genuinely cares about his subjects, sometimes works alongside Kirby against greater threats. The darkness in him is balanced by light. The greed is balanced by genuine concern. He's flawed but redeemable, complex rather than purely villainous. Meta Knight operates in shadows, hides his face, speaks with dramatic flair that suggests villainy. Yet he's consistently shown to be a guardian, a protector who tests Kirby to make him stronger. He embodies the idea that darkness can serve light, that what appears threatening might actually be beneficial, that we shouldn't judge based on appearance or dramatic presentation alone. Super Mario Galaxy explores light and darkness through cosmic cycles. When Bowser's scheme creates a black hole that threatens to consume the universe, the Lumas sacrifice themselves to stop it. But they don't eliminate the darkness. They transform it, channel it, use its destructive energy to fuel recreation. The universe is reborn, slightly different but fundamentally the same, because destruction is part of the cycle, necessary for renewal, as essential as creation. Rosalina explains this to Mario after the universe resets. She speaks of the cycle calmly, without fear or sorrow, describing how stars are born, live, die, and are reborn in different forms. This isn't tragedy. This is how things work. Darkness, the black hole, the void, the ending, is as necessary as light. You can't have continuous creation without space for new things, and creating space means allowing old things to end. This perspective on death and transformation is remarkably mature for a Mario game. It suggests that Nintendo doesn't shy away from acknowledging darkness as part of existence. They don't pretend the universe operates purely on light and goodness. They acknowledge that darkness exists, that entropy is real, that all things end. But they frame these truths within a larger context that makes them less frightening. Endings enable new beginnings. Darkness creates contrast that makes light meaningful. Loss is painful, but not final, because everything transforms rather than truly disappearing. In The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess, the Twilight Realm, serves as a mirror to Hyrule, a place of shadow that exists alongside the world of light. The inhabitants of the Twilight Realm aren't evil. They're people living under different conditions, adapted to different circumstances. When Zant invades Hyrule, attempting to merge the Twilight Realm with the world of light, the danger isn't that one realm is corrupting the other. The danger is that both realms need separation to maintain their identities, that forced merging destroys the distinct qualities of each. This suggests that light and darkness aren't meant to eliminate each other. They're meant to exist in parallel, each in its own space, maintaining the cosmic balance through their continued coexistence. The hero's job isn't to destroy darkness, it's to maintain appropriate boundaries, to prevent either side from overwhelming the other, to protect the balance that allows both to exist. Even in Metroid, a series known for its dark atmosphere and horror influences, the pattern holds. Samus fights the space pirates and their attempts to weaponize Metroids, but the Metroids themselves aren't inherently evil. They're creatures, predators that exist within their own ecosystem. The evil comes from those who try to exploit them, who attempt to control and weaponize natural forces without understanding consequences. The X parasites in Metroid Fusion offer an interesting meditation on darkness. They're portrayed as pure infection, threat, something to be eliminated. Yet the game reveals that Metroids were created specifically to prey on X parasites, to keep them in check. By driving Metroids to near extinction, Samus inadvertently removed the natural predator that maintained balance, allowing X parasites to run rampant. The darkness she fights in Fusion exists partly because of her earlier victories, because the ecosystem was disrupted, because balance was destroyed. This creates moral complexity. Samus did the right thing by stopping space pirates from weaponizing Metroids, but her success had unintended consequences. The universe doesn't operate on simple good versus evil. It operates on balance, on relationships between forces, on ecosystems where removing one element affects everything else. Nintendo's treatment of light and darkness teaches players to think systemically, to recognize that problems often arise from imbalance rather than from the existence of forces we label as dark. Power isn't evil. Ambition isn't evil. Self-interest isn't evil. But when any of these exists without counterbalance, when they grow unchecked, they become dangerous. The solution isn't to eliminate them. It's to restore balance, to cultivate opposing forces that can hold them in check. This philosophy appears in Nintendo's game design itself. The games don't eliminate challenge. They balance it with player capability. They don't eliminate failure. They balance it with respawning and the opportunity to try again. They don't eliminate difficulty. They balance it with progression systems that gradually make you more capable. The games embody the balance they preach, creating experiences where neither light nor darkness dominates, where both exist in proportions that make the experience engaging rather than overwhelming. Put on the mask. Feel it settle against your skin, heavier than it should be, warm as if alive. For a moment, there's pain, sharp, intense, a face of agony expressed in wood or stone. Then the transformation begins. Your body reshapes, bones and muscles reorganizing, perspective shifting as you grow smaller or larger, as limbs change proportion, as your very species becomes something other than what you were. You are still yourself. You are someone else entirely. Both statements are true. The transformation masks of Majora's Mask are unique in the Zelda franchise for their explicit body horror. When Link puts on the Deku mask, the Goron mask, or the Zora mask, the transformation is depicted as painful, violent, unwilling on some level, even though Link chooses it. The masks themselves are derived from the dead, the Deku butler's son, the Goron hero, Darmani, the Zora guitarist, Mikau. When Link wears these masks, he's not just shapeshifting. He's channeling the dead, giving their spirits physical form through his body, creating a merger of self and other. This raises profound questions about identity. When Link becomes Deku Link, is he still Link? He has Link's memories, Link's goals, Link's heroic nature, but he has Deku physiology, Deku abilities, Deku weaknesses. The inhabitants of Clocktown treat him as a Deku scrub, either threatening him or welcoming him based on how they feel about Deku scrubs. His identity in their eyes is determined by his form, not his inner self. The game doesn't provide clear answers about where Link ends and the mask begins. In some ways, this ambiguity is the point. Identity isn't simple. We're not just our consciousness or just our body. We're the interaction between inner experience and outer expression, between how we see ourselves and how others perceive us, between what we intend and what we're capable of doing. Majora's Mask makes transformation its central mechanic. The 3-day cycle that defines the game is itself a kind of transformation, time itself changing, flowing backward when Link plays the Song of Time, compressing when he plays the inverted Song of Time. The moon slowly transforms throughout these 3 days, its face shifting from distant threat to imminent doom. Every character in Clocktown transforms across the 3 days, their daily routines revealing different aspects of their personality, their hopes and fears, manifesting differently depending on how close they are to the end. Kafei's subplot involves involuntary transformation. The Skull Kid turned him from an adult into a child, stealing his wedding and his identity in one cruel act. Kafei hides, ashamed, unable to face his fiancée Anju in his diminished form. The quest to help him recover his identity involves masks, stolen property, secrets, and ultimately a decision about what matters more, the form we inhabit or the commitments we make. the body we wear, or the spirit within. Transformation appears across the Zelda franchise, though rarely as explicitly or painfully as in Majora's Mask. In A Link to the Past, when Link enters the Dark World without the Moon Pearl, he transforms into a pink bunny, helpless and unable to use weapons. This transformation is played for mild humor, but it carries serious gameplay consequences. Your form determines your capabilities, and without the right protective artifact, the world can change you against your will. In Twilight Princess, Link transforms into a wolf when he enters twilight-covered areas. Unlike the transformation masks, this change is forced upon him, not chosen. He has no control over when it happens or when it ends, until Midna helps him maintain wolf form in normal areas. Wolf Link has different abilities than human Link: enhanced senses, the ability to dig, different combat capabilities. The wolf transformation is tied to Link's hidden nature, a manifestation of the spirit within him that can only emerge under Twilight's influence. The fascinating aspect of Wolf Link is that he's not diminished by this form. He's differently capable. Some problems can only be solved as a wolf. Some areas can only be accessed in this form. The game teaches that different forms excel in different contexts, that transformation isn't about becoming better or worse, but about accessing different aspects of yourself. This theme extends beyond Zelda. Mario has power-ups that transform him: Fire Mario, Tanuki Mario, Bee Mario, Boo Mario. Each transformation grants different abilities, changes how he interacts with the environment, modifies what's possible. The transformations are temporary, tied to power-ups that can be lost if you take damage. This creates interesting gameplay tension. You have special capabilities, but must maintain them carefully, losing them if you fail to avoid harm. In Kirby games, transformation is constant. Kirby's copy ability lets him inhale enemies and gain their powers, fundamentally changing his available moveset. He might become Sword Kirby, wielding a blade and gaining sword-based attacks, or Fire Kirby, shooting flames, or UFO Kirby, flying freely and shooting lasers. The transformation is always visible. Kirby's appearance changes to reflect the ability he's copied, making his current state immediately readable. This makes Kirby's identity fascinatingly fluid. His defining characteristic is his ability to become other things, to temporarily adopt the identity and capabilities of whatever he's copied. Yet he remains recognizably Kirby throughout. The core personality, cheerful, determined, kind, persists regardless of what form he takes. This suggests that identity has both fixed and fluid aspects, that we can change dramatically while still remaining ourselves at some fundamental level. Super Mario Odyssey takes this concept further with Cappy, Mario's hat-shaped companion who gives Mario the ability to capture enemies and objects, temporarily inhabiting their bodies. When Mario captures a Goomba, you control that Goomba. When he captures a T-Rex, you control a dinosaur. The transformation is complete. You have access to that being's abilities, its perspective, its way of moving through the world. What's remarkable is how this mechanic recontextualizes the entire Mario universe. Enemies you've fought for decades become characters you can inhabit, giving you their perspective. You experience what it's like to be a bullet bill flying through the air, what it's like to be a hammer brother throwing hammers, what it's like to be a Cheep Cheep swimming through water. The capture mechanic creates empathy, understanding through literally walking in another being's shoes, or fins, or roots, or whatever. Pokémon offers transformation through evolution. Your Charmander becomes Charmeleon becomes Charizard, each stage representing growth, power gain, physical change. But evolution isn't always straightforward improvement. Some players prefer the appearance or personality of earlier evolution stages and use items to prevent evolution, choosing identity over power. The games respect this choice. Evolution is presented as natural but not mandatory, growth that happens unless deliberately prevented. Some Pokémon have multiple evolution paths. Eevee can become Vaporeon, Jolteon, Flareon, Espeon, Umbreon, Leafeon, Glaceon, or Sylveon, depending on conditions. This branching suggests that transformation depends on environment, on what you're exposed to, on external factors as much as internal potential. The same base being can become radically different things depending on circumstances, yet all paths are valid, all versions are correct. Nintendo's treatment of transformation consistently rejects the idea that there's one true form, one authentic self. Instead, these games suggest that identity is contextual, shifting, responsive to circumstance. We're different depending on who we're with, what we're doing, what challenges we face. This isn't being fake or inauthentic. This is being complex, being multifaceted, being human. The games also suggest that transformation involves letting go of previous forms. When you evolve a Pokémon, you can't go back. When Link becomes an adult in Ocarina of Time, his childhood form is only accessible by time travel, not by simple choice. Transformation means accepting that you're not who you were, that change is permanent even when you can revisit previous states briefly. Yet there's melancholy in this. The Deku butler's son is dead, but Link wears his face. Mikau is gone, but his memories and abilities persist in the mask Link uses. Transformation preserves something of what was lost, but it's preservation through change, continuation through difference. The dead remain present but transformed, their essence carried forward in new forms that both honor and alter what they were. This creates space for grief and acceptance. The games acknowledge that we mourn what's lost even as we embrace what's gained. Growing up means losing childhood. Evolving means leaving behind what you were. Transforming into a hero means accepting responsibilities you didn't choose. These changes bring power, but also cost, capability alongside loss. Nintendo's games never suggest that transformation is easy or painless. The mask-wearing sequence in Majora's Mask is explicitly agonizing. Evolution in Pokémon sometimes means your cute little partner becomes something fierce and possibly less cute. Power-ups in Mario games can be lost, forcing you back to smaller, weaker forms. Transformation is powerful, but precarious, valuable, but vulnerable. There is an object in the center of the sacred realm that grants any wish to whoever touches it. 3 golden triangles, arranged in perfect balance, containing the essence of the goddesses who created the world. No physical force protects it. No locks, no barriers, no guards. The only protection is distance, the difficulty of reaching it, the trials required to prove worthiness, and the Triforce itself, which judges the heart of whoever claims it, splitting if that heart is unbalanced, ensuring that absolute power doesn't rest with anyone whose motivations are purely selfish. This is the fundamental wish-granting artifact of Nintendo's cosmology, and it establishes rules that appear across franchises. Wishes have power. Sincere desires can reshape reality. But that power comes with conditions, with requirements, with the universe itself evaluating whether your wish deserves to be granted. The Star Rod in Paper. Mario operates on similar principles. It belongs to the star spirits, who use it to grant the wishes of those who see shooting stars. But they don't grant every wish. They evaluate intent, sincerity, worth. Bowser's wishes for power and conquest are consistently denied because they're selfish, because they would harm others, because they come from a heart focused on domination rather than growth. When Bowser steals the Star Rod, he short-circuits this evaluation process. He forces his wishes into reality without the Star Spirit's consent, without their filtering of selfish desires. The result is disaster. His castle rises into the sky. He becomes invincible. He kidnaps Princess Peach. All wishes granted, all consequences ignored, all balance destroyed, because power was claimed rather than earned. The resolution requires restoring proper order, rescuing the Star Spirits, empowering them to counter the Star Rod's corrupted use, allowing them to filter Bowser's forcibly granted wishes through the Star Beam. Wishes fighting wishes, but now with proper cosmic oversight, with the universe's own will asserting itself against corruption. The Star Spirits don't grant Mario's wish to defeat Bowser. They give him the tools, the possibility, the space within which his wish can manifest through his own effort. This distinction matters. Wishes aren't shortcuts in Nintendo's worlds. They're opportunities, possibilities that still require action to actualize. The Star Spirits grant Mario the Star Beam, but he still has to fight Bowser. The Triforce grants wishes, but reaching it requires completing elaborate trials. Even the Dragon Balls in Dragon Ball games, when they appear on Nintendo consoles, require collecting all 7 before wishes can be made, and some wishes are beyond the dragon's power to grant. Rosalina's Comet Observatory contains the power stars and grand stars that fuel its movement. These aren't traditionally described as wish-granting objects, but functionally, they serve that role. Mario wishes to save Princess Peach, to restore the cosmos, to return home. Collecting power stars makes these wishes possible. Each star represents a wish partially fulfilled, a goal achieved, progress toward larger desires. The Lumas themselves embody wish logic. They wish to become planets, stars, galaxies, and their wishes come true through transformation. But transformation isn't instant. It requires time, growth, Rosalina's guidance. The Luma's wishes are granted because they're willing to give themselves to fulfill them, because their wishes align with cosmic need, because they're patient enough to wait for the right moment to transform. In Kirby's crystal shards, the crystal contains wish-granting power. When dark matter corrupts it, wishes become twisted, manifesting in ways that harm rather than help. The quest involves recovering crystal shards, making the crystal whole again, restoring its ability to grant wishes properly. The game suggests that wishes require wholeness to work correctly, that fragmentation leads to corruption, that what's broken grants broken wishes. Even Animal Crossing includes wish logic through shooting stars. On certain nights, meteors streak across the sky. If you press A when you see one, if you make a wish, star fragments wash up on your beach the next day. These fragments can be crafted into beautiful furniture, into items that glow with cosmic light. The wishes aren't granted directly. You don't wish for specific items. But the act of wishing brings something valuable, something that wouldn't exist without that moment of reaching toward the stars. This creates a consistent philosophy across Nintendo's games. Wishes are powerful, but they require effort, alignment with cosmic order, sincerity of intent. You can't simply demand what you want. You must prove worthy through action, demonstrate that your wishes serve more than selfish interest, show that you're willing to work toward manifestation rather than expecting instant gratification. The Fountain of Dreams in Kirby's Adventure provides good dreams to Dreamland's inhabitants. This is wish fulfillment on a societal scale, everyone getting to experience pleasant dreams, their subconscious desires meeting satisfaction each night. When nightmare corrupts the fountain, nightmares replace good dreams, wishes become fears, satisfaction becomes suffering. Kirby must restore the fountain, repair the mechanism of wish fulfillment, make it possible for people's dreams, their wishes made during sleep, to be positive again. This suggests that wish fulfillment is infrastructure, something that must be maintained, that can break down, that requires protection. Wishes don't grant themselves. There are systems, cosmic machinery, guardian beings whose job involves making wishes possible. When these systems fail, when guardians are imprisoned or corrupted, when machinery breaks, wishes stop working correctly. The sacred realm itself operates as wish infrastructure. It's described as a mirror reflecting the heart of whoever enters. A pure heart creates paradise. A corrupted heart creates wasteland. This isn't the realm judging or punishing. This is the realm responding, manifesting wishes made conscious and unconscious, desires acknowledged and denied, the truth of what you want shown through what the realm becomes. This creates interesting implications. If the sacred realm reflects your heart, if wishes shape reality in this space, then the world you create reveals who you are. Ganondorf enters and creates the dark world, exposing his inner corruption, manifesting his desire for domination as landscape. A hero entering the same space would create something entirely different, a reflection of heroic qualities rather than tyrannical ones. In some sense, all of Nintendo's worlds operate on wish logic. The Mushroom Kingdom exists in its colorful, physics-defying state because it's been wished into that form. Dreamland is literally made of dreams, wishes given geographic reality. Hyrule shifts between timelines based on wishes made or denied, heroes succeeding or failing, gods intervening or remaining distant. The games teach that wishes matter, that sincere desire has weight, that the universe responds to authentic yearning. But they also teach that wishes aren't enough alone. You must act. You must prove worthy. You must align your wishes with greater good rather than selfish want. You must be willing to work, to persist, to overcome obstacles between desire and manifestation. This is powerful game design philosophy. The player wishes to beat a level, to defeat a boss, to complete a collection. The game doesn't simply grant these wishes. It creates challenges that make wish fulfillment meaningful, that transform desire into achievement through effort. Every goal reached in a Nintendo game is a wish granted, but granted through your own action, through persistence and skill and learning. The game provides opportunity. You provide will. The screen fades to black. The credits roll. The music plays one final time, usually a medley of themes you've heard throughout your journey, each melody a memory, each progression a reminder of places you've been, challenges you've overcome, friends you've made along the way. And as you watch the credits scroll, as you listen to the music wind down, there's a moment, maybe it's just a moment, when you're not quite in the game anymore, but you're not quite back in your living room either. You're in between. You're in the space where all Nintendo worlds exist simultaneously, connected by threads so fine you usually don't notice them, woven together by stars and portals, by music and transformation, by wish and will, and the strange magic that happens when pixels on a screen become places in your heart. This is the dream, the one that connects every Nintendo world, the one you've been participating in all along. Because that's what this is, isn't it? A dream that Nintendo has been dreaming for decades, a vision of what games can be, what they can mean, what they can do to and for the people who play them. It's a dream about accessibility, about creating experiences that welcome everyone, that don't demand prior knowledge or particular skill levels to begin, that teach as they challenge, that respect players enough to let them fail and learn and try again. It's a dream about wonder, about preserving the ability to be amazed, to see a world and want to explore it, to encounter the strange and respond with curiosity rather than cynicism. It's a dream about stars, those distant lights that we've gazed at since childhood, that we've wished upon, that represent hope and mystery and the vastness of possibility. Nintendo takes those stars and makes them collectible, attainable, rewards for exploration and persistence. It's a dream about children, about never losing the perspective that made the world feel magical when we were young, about approaching challenges with the optimism that comes before you've learned to see obstacles as insurmountable. Every child hero in Nintendo's games reminds us that age doesn't determine capability, that innocence has its own kind of wisdom, that sometimes the best response to an impossible problem is to try anyway. It's a dream about sleep itself, about the worlds we visit when we close our eyes, the logic that governs those spaces where anything can happen, where gravity is negotiable and emotion shapes landscape and meaning emerges from symbolism rather than literal interpretation. Nintendo understood early that game worlds operate on dream logic, that they should, that trying to make them realistic was missing the point. Let them be strange. Let them surprise. Let them follow their own rules, internally consistent but not bound by mundane physics. It's a dream about passages, about doorways between worlds, about the possibility that reality has more layers than we typically perceive, that threshold spaces exist, that with the right key or the right song or the right moment of courage, you can step from here to there, from known to unknown, from who you are to who you might become. Every pipe and painting, every portal and door, every warping sound effect tells us the world is more connected than it appears, more accessible than it seems. It's a dream about music, about how melody creates memory, how rhythm shapes feeling, how the right notes at the right moment can make you feel triumphant or melancholy, excited or peaceful, like you're home, or like you're exactly where you need to be. Nintendo's composers understood that music isn't decoration, it's architecture. It builds the emotional foundation on which gameplay rests, and when you remember these games years later, you'll remember the music first, those melodies that became part of your internal soundtrack. It's a dream about guardians, about beings more powerful than you who choose not to solve everything for you, who believe in your capacity to grow through challenge, who provide guidance and tools but never replace your own agency. It's a dream about responsibility, about what it means to watch over something, to protect not through control but through care, to enable rather than direct. It's a dream about balance, about light and darkness not as opposing forces locked in eternal war, but as complementary aspects of a greater whole, each necessary for the other to exist, each containing truth that the other lacks. Nintendo's games consistently refuse simple morality, presenting instead a cosmos where balance matters more than victory, where maintaining equilibrium is the actual goal, where defeating darkness entirely would actually be catastrophic because light requires shadow to be visible. It's a dream about transformation, about the possibility of becoming something other than what you are while still remaining yourself, about how identity is both fixed and fluid, how we contain multitudes, how the masks we wear might reveal truth as often as they conceal it. Every transformation mechanic in Nintendo's games suggests that change is possible, that we're not locked into single identities, that growth means becoming something different while carrying forward the essence of what we were. It's a dream about wishes, about the power of sincere desire, about how the universe might respond to authentic yearning if we're willing to work toward manifestation, to prove ourselves worthy, to align our wants with something greater than pure self-interest. The star rods and triforces, the shooting stars and power stars all suggest that wishing isn't childish or futile, that desire directed toward good ends has weight, has effect, has the power to reshape reality if accompanied by appropriate effort. But mostly, it's a dream about play, about the sacred act of setting aside mundane concerns to enter imagined spaces, to move avatars through digital landscapes, to solve puzzles and overcome challenges, and collect stars and save worlds that don't actually need saving, because they're not actually real. Except they are real in the ways that matter, in how they make us feel, in what they teach us, in the memories they create, in the ways they change us subtly, teaching problem-solving and persistence and curiosity and courage through mechanics that feel like play but function as practice. Nintendo's dream has been remarkably consistent across decades. The technology has evolved, the graphics have improved, the stories have grown more complex, but the core vision remains: create worlds worth visiting, characters worth caring about, challenges worth overcoming, experiences worth remembering. Make games that welcome newcomers without insulting experienced players. Create difficulty curves that challenge without crushing. Design worlds that reward exploration without demanding it. Trust players to be clever, persistent, capable. And somehow, impossibly, Nintendo has maintained this vision through generations of hardware, through corporate restructuring, through the departures of key figures, through industry trends that often seem to pull in opposite directions. The dream persists because it's not one person's vision. It's a collective understanding, a shared philosophy, a way of thinking about games and players and the relationship between them that's been passed down, refined, renewed. This is why Nintendo's worlds feel connected, even when they're not literally connected. They share DNA. They're born from the same dream, shaped by the same values, designed according to the same underlying principles. When you play a Mario game, you're participating in the same dream as when you play Zelda or Kirby or Metroid. The specifics differ, but the spirit remains constant. This is a place of wonder, of possibility, of challenge that respects you enough to let you fail, of design that cares enough to guide you subtly towards success. The dream asks something of you in return. It asks you to stay curious, to maintain the willingness to be surprised, to approach new experiences with openness rather than skepticism. It asks you to remember what it felt like to be young and first discovering that screens could contain entire worlds, that you could affect what happened in those worlds, that your actions mattered even though nothing was really at stake. It asks you to play, genuinely play, not to optimize or speedrun or extract maximum value, but to explore, experiment, enjoy. It asks you to collect the stars, not because a completion percentage demands it, but because finding them is satisfying, because the act of collection feels like recovery, like making the world whole again. It asks you to listen to the music, to let it guide your emotions, to recognize that sound matters as much as sight in creating the feeling of a place. It asks you to notice when the music changes, when new instruments join, when familiar melodies appear in new arrangements. The music is always telling you something if you're paying attention. It asks you to trust the guardians, to understand that when games don't solve problems for you, when they make you figure things out, when they respect your capacity to learn and grow, they're not being cruel. They're being kind in the deeper sense, treating you as someone capable of growth rather than someone who needs everything done for them. It asks you to embrace transformation, to recognize that change is part of play, that becoming different is how we learn, that the version of yourself that emerges after beating a challenging game isn't quite the same as the version who started it. Something shifted, something grew, some capacity developed that wasn't there before. It asks you to keep wishing, to maintain desire, to believe that effort towards sincere goals has meaning, that the universe rewards those who try, who persist, who refuse to accept that certain things are impossible. The games are built on this principle. What seems impossible becomes possible through practice, through learning, through determination. And if you bring these things, curiosity, playfulness, attention, trust, openness to change, willingness to wish, and work toward manifestation. If you bring these to Nintendo's worlds, the dream rewards you. It opens, it expands, it reveals layers you didn't notice on first playthrough, secrets hidden for those who look closely, meanings embedded in design choices that seem minor until you recognize their significance. The dream connects every Nintendo world because the dream is ultimately about you, the player, the person sitting in front of the screen, the one who makes these worlds come alive through interaction. Without you, these are just data on discs and cartridges. With you, they're portals to wonder, challenges that matter, journeys that change you subtly, stars that guide you through darkness. So, when you finish a Nintendo game, when the credits roll, when the music plays one last time, remember that you've been participating in something larger than this individual game. You've been inside the dream, the one that connects all of them, the vision of what games can be when they're created with care and respect, and the belief that play matters, that wonder is worth preserving, that the worlds we create in imagination are as real as any other kind of truth. The screen fades to black. The dream continues. It's been dreaming for decades. It will keep dreaming long after we're gone, inviting new players into worlds that feel ancient and new simultaneously, offering passages between realms, collecting stars that represent hope, playing music that becomes memory, transforming those who enter, granting wishes to those who earn them. If you've enjoyed drifting through this story tonight, consider subscribing for more quiet journeys through Nintendo's worlds. Until next time, sleep well, dream deeply, and remember, the stars are always there, waiting to be collected, each one a possibility, each one a connection, each one a fragment of the dream that connects every world.